Clock says 4:30, he will come to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Bailey,
Present.
Commissioner Bunting,
Present.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Here.
Commissioner Owens.
Here. George, can we get you to pray for us?
Guys, please. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the day and the blessings you've given to us. Continued prayers, Father, for our servicemen and women overseas and at home. Also for our first responders, Father, give them blessings and safety. We ask now that you be with this meeting and with us as we discuss the things that are more important, or very important for the people of Gratiot County. For it's his name we pray, amen.
Join us for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the States of America and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
So we do need to add to L2 to resend May 5th, 2026 motion that was stated at the last meeting.
Okay. I hear a motion to approve the agenda.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Steve, supported by Jan to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody gotta declare a conflict of interest? Okay, brief public comment.
So we're already set up for public comment?
Brief.
I'm not sure of your protocol. Do you have anything specific you would like me to start with addressing myself?
There's right on the list, there's a rest right in front of you, ma'am.
Right?
We read it.
Who is the chairperson? Okay. My name is Krista Downer. I am glad to be able to start the conversation that you are going to hear some of this evening, because I think what I have to say frames the conversation. I think it's going to frame the upcoming conversation about the details of the ultimate negative impact of ignoring harassment in the workplace. What I'm going to share comes from an organization called End Workplace Abuse. These are not my own thoughts. I believe them, but they are factual information that I think is useful to frame this conversation. Research shows that workplace bullying, harassment, and toxic work environments can lead to suicidal ideation when employees feel they have nowhere to turn. Psychological abuse can be seen on brain scans. Abuse can be seen on brain scans, making workplace abuse physical abuse. Just as smoking causes physical harm, only seen on lung scans. These employees that I'm going to describe to you took their own lives because of workplace abuse. Jay Almeida, a nurse, suffered PTSD after workplace abuse and threats, leading to his tragic death. John Barnett, a former Boeing quality manager and whistleblower, raised safety concerns about the company's practices, faced alleged retaliation, and tragically died by suicide in 2024. Marlene Braun, a conservationist, took her life after a new supervisor stripped her of responsibilities and subjected her to relentless hostility. Dr. Bonnie Candia Bailey, a university vice president, reported workplace bullying to authorities, only to face institutional complicity that escalated the abuse. She too took her own life. Quinn Chen, a Facebook employee, faced immense pressure, a block transfer, and an impending review before jumping to his death. John Kaufman, a longtime California state employee, repeatedly reported bullying before taking his life when no action was taken. Princeton Lacey Moore, a Stanford employee, took his life after becoming increasingly depressed while working with a new supervisor. The list goes on and on. I will mention maybe two more. Xavier Sander.
Ma'am, your time is up.
May I finish my concluding statement? It's 2 sentences.
Okay.
These are the stories that have made headlines. They don't account for suicide with unknown causes, cancer, strokes, cardiovascular disease, and stress-related diseases caused by workplace stress. According to research, workplaces are the 5th leading cause of death. And we need your open ears tonight.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Lisa Russo. I'm here today because Gratiot County has a leadership problem. They have a culture problem, and they have an accountability problem. The most troubling part is that none of this should be a surprise to any of you. 2 weeks ago, I emailed each member of this board and advised that I was aware of serious concerns involving the Sheriff's Office and the Corrections Division. I invited any one of you to contact me if you wanted additional information. No one did. That should concern all of us. When someone comes forward with concerns involving employee treatment, sexual harassment, retaliation, workplace culture, the appropriate response is curiosity. It's concern. It's a willingness to learn what is going on. Instead, there was silence. Today, I'm asking you to listen. Mrs. Lacey Brayman is not here because she wasn't able to do her job. She's not here because she failed to perform her duties. She's standing here because she reported conduct that she believed should have been addressed and because she believed the systems designed to protect employees failed her. The thing is, all the other employees at Gratiot County were watching. The email from Sheriff Morris was a clue of how this is going to go. As most of you know, this is from Mike Morris. I'm quoting an email sent September 27th, Friday at 11:50 a.m. As most of you know, Joe Vozar tendered his resignation on September 26, 2024. I'm sorry, are you bored? Are you listening? Okay. He assisted me and may in the future help me in any questions that I have for transition. I wished him luck in the future and thanked him for his 6 years plus with Gratiot County. That's the offender. Joe Vozar is the offender. And that's how the sheriff at the time handled this situation. That's the message that he sent to all employees. Morse explains that Joe's such a good guy, he maybe need to be called on in the future. Morse wishes him luck, thanked him for 6+ years. How many of those years was he harassing Miss Brayman? Others besides Mrs. Brayman. Is there an investigation conducted? To the Human Resources, got some questions. How many women have complained about Vozar? How many women have left employment in the jail due to the environment while Vozar was the jail administrator? Were exit interviews conducted by Human Resources? For how many years prior to Lacey's continued harassment of Vozar did anyone do anything? The point is that an employee believed she could not obtain meaningful protection from the organization that she served. That should concern every commissioner in this room. What kind of culture exists with the Gratiot County Sheriff's Office when employees believe reporting misconduct is more dangerous than remaining silent? Because the message many employees have received is, I've heard the same concerns repeatedly. Women who believe that they are not taken seriously, employees who fear retaliation. Others have lost faith in the complaint process. Individuals who believe accountability depends more on rank than relationships than on conduct.
Ma'am,
Yes, sir.
your time is up.
Would you like to hear what the rest I have to say? It's very short.
Oh,
You really, as a commissioner, as a chairman, you don't want to hear what I have to say.
there's plenty of other people that have to talk.
Your name.
Sigel. Last name Z. And when employees lost faith in the process, they stopped reporting. That is when the organizations become dangerous. Not because misconduct occurs, misconduct can happen anywhere. Chooses to minimize the explain them away or protect the people responsible. Commissioner's culture is not what is written in a policy or a manual. Culture is what employees believe will happen when they speak up. Will they be heard? Will they be protected? Will someone conduct a fair investigation? Or will they become the next problem to manage? These are the questions the employees are asking. They should also be the questions this board is asking. Every lawsuit costs taxpayers money. Every employee who leaves takes experience and institutional knowledge with them. Every failure to investigate increases liability. The employees of the county deserve better. The taxpayers of the county deserve better. And the board should also expect better. Leadership is easy when the things are going well. Leadership is tested when difficult conversations must take place. Today is one of those conversations. You have a choice. You can treat this as just another lawsuit or to defend, another headline to manage, and another employee to dismiss. Or you can treat this as an opportunity to take the honest look at all the cultures that exist within government, county government, and ask a difficult but necessary question. Are we more committed to protecting the institution, or are we more protected to people who we serve? Because this answer to this question will determine what happens next. Whether the employees continue to find their voice, whether they continue to trust the process, whether they believe accountability applies equally to everyone, and whether Gratiot County becomes a place where people feel safe speaking up, or a place where they learn that silence is the safer choice. I hope you choose wisely.
Yeah.
Kevin Kendall. I'm here to talk about real quickly about the public transportation that you're going to be possibly sending to the taxpayers for decision. I'm encouraging you to send it to the taxpayers, let us decide how we want to spend our money. We spend our money in a lot of ways. You spend our money in a lot of ways. It's time to send it out there so we can do it. I had the unfortunate privilege of taking my dad's driver's license away about 6 weeks ago. Simple, we live on Union Road. I can see the buses go down State Road. What's the chances I can get him to Meyer every morning to walk? But the bus can't. It's Emerson Township. The places go right by JJ Ruby's, going from Ithaca to Elma all the time. Can you be dropped off at the restaurant to eat? No. Does that make any business sense at all? It doesn't. It's not your job to say no. It's your job to send it to us to say no.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
My name is Carly Brandman. I am here today because what happened within our county and jail systems is something that the public deserves to know about. 2 years ago, my mother reported sexual harassment in the workplace against Mr. Vozar. No employee should ever have to endure that. When someone comes forward with allegations or harassment, they should be supported, protected, and taken seriously. Instead, what we have witnessed is a lack of accountability and transparency that has left many people questioning whether employees are truly safe at work. The sheriff, undersheriff, and HR all tried to cover this up by making it go away and seem like it's no big deal. The issue is bigger than just one person or one incident. It is about a culture that allows inappropriate behavior to continue without meaningful consequences. It is about employees feeling afraid to speak up because they fear retaliation or believing nothing will be done. I have personally spent time working in the jail and have witnessed behavior and conversations that I believe have no place in a professional workplace. Comments that are disregarding, inappropriate, and disrespectful should never be considered normal in any work environment, especially with a law enforcement agency that is expected to uphold the highest standards of professionalism and integrity. What has been most difficult to watch is the toll this has taken on my mother. After being forced to relive painful experiences during legal procedures, she came home emotionally devastated. No victim should have to suffer through that while also feeling like the system is working against them. The people of this county deserve answers. Employees deserve a workplace where they can feel safe, respected, and protected, which is not happening. Victims deserve to be heard instead of ignored. And those in positions of leadership should be held accountable for the culture they create and decisions they make. This is not about politics. This is not about personal attacks. This is about doing what is right. Silence protects problems, transparency solves them. Today, I'm asking for accountability, professionalism, and the commitment to ensuring that no employee has to experience what my mother has and others as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll lay it down, they clap, yeah.
Next,
My name is Lacey Brayman. I'd like to begin by stating that I have worked as a contracted employee through the Gratiot County Jail since 2018, providing medical care to the inmates. Well, I'm not familiar with all of you sitting here, with the exception of you, Mr. Slopsy, who I've known for a very, very long time and have come to respect over the years, because I do believe that morally and ethically you would do the right thing always. I don't know the rest of you. However, you also have a political position that you hold. I do hope you're able to choose the correct path. In September of 24, I reported allegations of sexual harassment against Joe Bozar, who was serving as a jail lieutenant at the time. I reported these concerns directly to Human Resources Director Sheila Barnaby, Sheriff Morris, and Under Sheriff at the time, Roy McCollum. I believe my allegations would be taken seriously and investigated appropriately. However, I was wrong. What appeared to occur instead was an effort to allow Mr. Bozar to leave the department without any documentation of these allegations to his file and keep the matter as quiet as possible. Former sheriff, as mentioned previously, was even thanked Mr. Bozar for his time and wished him well in the future. No other employee has got that email after being asked to resign. To be very clear, Mr. Bozar was not investigated and he was not terminated. There was no documentation, in fact, to my knowledge, that any complaint was filed because the county did not do one. Once this occurred, I realized that the county's primary concern was not addressing the complaint, but protecting Mr. Bozar and shielding the county from any accountability for its actions or lack of. Unfortunately, tragedy struck in November of this last year, well after litigation had already been filed. And long before any of these issues became an issue. And my husband passed away, and it's been one of the most devastating experiences in my life. During my deposition, the county's attorney, the people you hire, immediately began questioning me about my husband's death. In my view, in this line of questioning had absolutely nothing to do with the facts of this case. Nevertheless, I was forced to sit through questions about one of the most painful events I've ever experienced. As someone who loves my husband deeply, still, discussing his death was understandably emotional. Then someone else can finish this for me. From my perspective, this questioning felt like an attempt to upset me emotionally and undermine me during my deposition, which is exactly what my attorney had said, rather than gather information relevant to the case. I found that experience intimidating, distressing, and deeply inappropriate.
Ma'am, your time's
To
up.
relive this,
Chair,
such a,
secondly, Chair, would you please allow her to finish? She earned that. Please, Chair.
That's a joke to not.
Come on, please, this needs to come from her. She needs to do this. She wants to do this. Please, would you make this exception? And she's the last one from us.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
having to really relive such a tragedy in a setting that was extremely difficult, especially when it didn't have any connection to this case. None. This experience only reinforced my belief that the focus has been
has too often been on protecting individuals and institutions rather than addressing legitimate concerns and treating people with fairness, dignity, and respect. Mr. Sapsi, after knowing you and your family for many, many years, I find it difficult to believe that you would consider any of this acceptable. If any of this had happened to your wife or any one of your daughters, what would you do? I ask you to consider that perspective as you evaluate these matters to determine what actions should be taken moving forward. I have not spoken publicly about this matter since I reported Bozar to the county. However, given the lack of proper investigation and apparent concealment of alleged misconduct and what I believe was a brutal attack on me during my deposition by the county, it is long overdue for the public to be made aware of what has happened. I have 3 young children who look up to me every day, and I have the responsibility to show them that doing the right thing is always the best thing, even when it's difficult. I want them to understand the importance of standing up for what is right, speaking the truth, and refusing to remain silent in the face of wrongdoing. Most importantly, the culture must change. We cannot continue to live in a system where the victim is treated as the villain and the perpetrator is portrayed as the victim. Accountability, transparency, and integrity must take precedence over protecting individuals from the consequences of their action. Joe was not held accountable for anything. Only then can they be restored and meaningful change happen. In closing, the administration of this county as a whole has to be held accountable for their actions. There are numerous matters that, in my opinion, warrant further investigation regarding the conduct and decisions of the county administration. Accountability cannot exist when concerns are ignored, minimized, or concealed. Additionally, the fact that Human Resources Director Sheila Barnaby sent an email out last week only after the rumors had been brought to everyone's attention, that this letter had been sent to the commissioners, speaks pretty loudly. It gives me the impression that the action was only taken after the public attention was drawn to the issue rather than when the concerns were first brought forward. Perhaps most troubling is the culture of fear that I witness every day that I come to work. I interact with staff members who are afraid to report concerns because they fear retaliation. No employee should do that. If they all feel that they are going to be held accountable if they speak up for the right thing, or they're going to jeopardize their job, reputation, or future. A healthy organization encourages transparency and welcomes accountability. It does not create an environment where employees are afraid to come forward. Gratiot County has to and must do better. The employees who serve this county and the citizens who place their trust in this leadership deserve honesty, transparency, and accountability, and a commitment to doing what is right, even when it's really difficult. Please do better
Thank you.
and hold people accountable.
All first.
It's up.
Anybody else have public comment? We'll move on to the consideration.
Well, my name is Michael Jerome. I graduated in 2000, quite a few of them here. Went to the Marine Corps, went out to California, did a couple tours, and now live down in Stockbridge. But always been proud to say, you know, I'm from Ithaca, Michigan. Very proud. But then when I hear about this, you guys got a tough thing to look into. You have to look into this. I absolutely believe you will and see you get to the bottom of this. You know, maybe this is the first, second time you heard about it, but this, I mean, I would like to say that I'm proud to come from Ithaca and stay that way. But if this, you know, when I worked in a prison boot camp after that down in Chelsea, so I worked in this kind of environment, and to hear this and then something not be taken this serious, that's just, and I have seen it before. I have seen where if someone reports something, everybody else treats them as, you know, gives them the crap. The person should be gets praised. Now this guy owns a business over and they're still working, buying stuff from him and doing stuff, business with him. Because it was never looked into. This is crazy. That's all I gotta say about it. I don't live here anymore, but I've always been proud to say I'm from Ithaca, Michigan. And I'd like to keep it that way, guys.
Thank you.
My name is Jerry Upright. I'm not only a nurse that fills in for Lacey at the jail, but I'm also her mother. I guess the biggest thing I noticed initially was every time I went to work and she wasn't there, I was questioned repeatedly about her whereabouts and what she was doing for the day by Mr. Bozar. He had no jurisdiction over Lacey or myself. We're contract employees. Like I said, I fill in when she's not there. But there was never a shift that I wasn't questioned at length about the fact of where she was at, what she was doing, who she was doing it with, all of those type of things. Found that to be very disturbing right from the get-go, that somebody in that position would be questioning her mother. He knew exactly who I was. And it continued right up until the time that he was gone. I got the same email that everybody else did, wishing him well and all of those things. And I witnessed it firsthand while I was there. I'm still there. I still work in the jail and cover for Lacey when she's out and unable to go to work. And then hearing about the way this attorney treated her during this deposition is sickening. There is no reason for anybody to dig that deep and go that low with somebody that is grieving. Again, I think looking at everything that's been said to you guys today and making some action, taking advantage of this and moving forward in a positive light instead of sweeping it under the carpet further would be the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, my name is Ryan Bay. Some people may know me. I'm here today because someone I care deeply about, Lacey Brayman, deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. In 2024, Lacey reported sexual harassment by a lieutenant in the county's corrections department. Regardless of where anyone stands on the legal case, no employee should have to endure harassment within the workplace. And no one should come forward with a complaint should be made to feel further victimized by the process that follows. What concerns me is not only the alleged conduct itself, but how this situation has been handled. The lieutenant involved was reportedly given the opportunity to resign in good standing rather than be terminated outright. To many members of the public, that raises serious questions about accountability and whether public officials are held to the same standards expected of everyone else. I'm also troubled by what occurred during Lacey's deposition that you heard previously from Lacey. My best friend was Jake Brayman for 32 years. Okay. He died by suicide November 16th, 2025. His death had nothing to do with the harassment case. Yet during her 8-hour deposition, the county's attorney brought him up and referred to him as Lacey's ex, asked her if she would been married. Attorneys have an obligation to advocate for their clients. Everyone understands that. But there should also be limits guided by basic human decency. Jake was not a party to this case. He cannot defend himself, explain himself, or respond to questions about his life. For his widow to be questioned in that manner, especially when his death is unrelated to the underlying allegations, strikes me as unnecessary and deeply disrespectful. I am not asking the commission to decide the lawsuit tonight. The courts will do that. I'm asking you to consider what message is being sent to the county employees and to the public. When someone reports harassment, do they see a system that protects them and treats them with respect? Or do they see a system that protects those in power and subjects victims to further humiliation? Lacey deserves better. County employees deserve better. The citizens of this county deserve better. I urge you to review these practices, demand accountability, and ensure that respect, professionalism, and integrity are more than just words. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, public comment is closed. Consideration of the consent calendar.
Was consent calendar presented?
Support.
Moved by George, supported by Tim to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Administrators report.
Hey, Commissioners, two items for you tonight, updates. The first on our internal control review project that's been going on for a few months. I do expect to have a draft of the final report in the next couple of weeks. Todd and I will meet with our consultant at the last week of June, and you believe your first July meeting. Consultant will be here to make a presentation to the board with recommendations for moving forward. So that project will then wrap up. I'm sure there'll be some very good suggestions to follow when that's presented. Second update on blight enforcement. We have a tentative meeting scheduled. Well, it's not tentative anymore. It's scheduled for June 25th at 5 o'clock with the supervisors of the townships where we are enforcing the blight controls. We've got a few things we need to do at this meeting. First, we're going to review the blight complaint process with the supervisors at the meeting, and then discuss any kind of amendments or other language issues that are in the current ordinance with Kyle O'Meara. You might remember Kyle, he's done some enforcement work for us on the legal side. He's reviewing this ordinance now and will be making any suggested changes that we'll go over that night. We also want to talk with the supervisors about enforcement and township responsibility. You might recall my stating a few times, the idea of limiting anybody to 2 enforcement actions per year is simply not going to fly. There are ways that we've already have in place in-house here to look into any complaints that go on. If we need to issue civil infraction tickets, that ability is there. If not, we'll make sure that it is, but we can't enforce it on one person in a township and not another. We can't pick and choose. This is an all or nothing proposition. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about township responsibilities if a ticket is challenged and what happens there. As you know, commissioners, the county cannot enforce a blight ordinance. We don't have statutory authority to do that. We're simply enforcing the ordinance of the township. So we need to have a good a relationship with the township board to understand where all that responsibility lies and make sure the follow-up occurs. It's also, by the way, we have an MTA meeting scheduled on June 24th right now, Todd, if I'm not mistaken. That's an opportunity for at least for me to show up and give a quick reminder to townships at that meeting that we're going to have this meeting on the 25th. I do believe that we'll have ability to move forward, I think, in pretty certain fashion after that meeting. But I do think it's crucial. I do think there might be some amendments that are coming to that ordinance that these townships will have to consider. Yeah, good to have ordinances reviewed anyway. I'm not certain this ordinance had that kind of scrutiny. So again, that's underway. So I'm looking forward to a good result out of that meeting. And as you know, you approved meetings ago. We're restructuring our community development department to put more resources into this to see that we can enforce this all in a timely fashion. So that's my update.
Okay.
Where's the meeting at?
Right here, right in this room.
What time it was going to be?
5 o'clock on June 25th.
You do know that rural urban is that day.
I don't even know what rural urban is.
A lot of people do. The big celebration of when the cities and agricultural come together for a big steak dinner at the fairground.
It'll be a brief meeting then.
George, do you have stuff to report?
I'm going to pass.
I don't have anything. My meetings are next.
Yeah, my meetings are all next week too. Steve?
Went to a couple of different meetings. instead of Monday. The meeting was Tuesday for Fulton Township due to the holiday. Primarily Fulton and Perrington, then I was at Perrington last night, but they are, as everyone's well aware, there's a sewer system in Fulton Township that Perrington is, correct me if I'm wrong, 22% or 26%, something of that nature. And then the township owns the rest of it. They are in the process right now of discussing the possibility of forming a sewer authority. If you go back 40 some years ago, well, more than 40 years ago, it was 52 years ago when the sewer was actually constructed. The county is the one who financially backed that process so that the construction could occur. After it was paid off, approximately 40 years later, it became the ownership of the village of Perrington and the township of Fulton. There's verbiage in there about a sewer authority being formed. At that time, or before that time, there has never been a sewer authority, official sewer authority formed. So that's what they're discussing. There was talk at length, both the township meeting and the village meeting, about the two boards actually coming together and discussing that. Fulton has brought in, or I think it's the 27th, they have a financial advisor coming in to talk about some options on how they can come up with some funding for the project. There's some things that seriously they need to spend some serious money on. One of them, they were talking about last night, when the last big power outages, they had a large generator that did not work, which caused some scrambling to get a generator. It's very expensive to rent it month to month, to have it sitting there, whether they need it or not, but it's also very expensive to replace it. So they're going through all the channels right now, on how they're going to go about that, getting bids, that sort of thing. So that was kind of the big topic at both of those meetings, I would say. Jim?
Okay, I went to the planning committee last month. And also I had a meeting with MSU Extension that was over online. And it was basically just to bring everything up to date and what their plans were for the future. Other than that, most of my meetings start again this month.
Yeah, okay. Okay, consideration of new business, Gratiot integrated health discussion.
Good afternoon, evening, commissioners. It's great to see everyone again. I will try to keep this brief as I'm really kind of looking to solicit some questions, concerns, and comments from you all to respond to at a future date. But I'm here tonight to speak with you about potential interest in a limited tax general obligation bond to support the development of a new facility for our community mental health agency here in Gratiot County. This is not a new conversation. My board of directors and leadership team have been having it for years. And we have tried every which way to make the current building that we're in work to meet our needs. And we have far surpassed all of any juice that it had left to squeeze. We have done squeezed it. So just to give you an idea, if you've never been in our building, it is a 100-year-old school building. It's not ADA compliant, which dramatically inhibits our ability to utilize the space that we do have. Individuals with mobility concerns, staff, or consumers aren't able to access the second floor due to lack of an elevator. The money that it would cost to bring it into compliance with ADA so that we could utilize some of that space would be cost prohibitive given the age of that building. Additionally, we have persistent infrastructure issues, including ongoing sewer odor problems, which have disrupted our operations despite significant attempts to mitigate that and at the cost of federal dollars. Our mechanisms are aging. We have heating and cooling problems, which contribute to rising maintenance costs. And our space limitations, again, I've had to push staff out to remote work when available because I just don't have the space for people to serve. I call it my shanty town because I've thrown up every single wall that I can to make an office out of a closet or whatever is available to us. And lastly, our facility does not reflect a modern trauma-informed healthcare environment. We don't even have a waiting room. It's essentially a hallway, which creates all sorts of confidentiality, safety concerns. Our consumers or anybody who wanders in are just congregating in the hallway with no place of any kind of dignity to wait while they're awaiting their appointment with their therapist or mental health professional. So simply put, so this is more than a building project that we are seeking. It's an investment in the public health of Gratiot County. And so we're very aware that any request of partnership would come with a lot of transparency, dialogue, and ongoing discussions. We're currently evaluating the project scope and the cost estimates of the project, long-term operational savings in moving to a new facility, as well as the feasibility of utilizing an LTGO bond to help us support the financing for that. And I would just remind everyone that we serve the individuals in this community with the most vulnerable needs. And so it really is important and reflective of our values, I think, to invest in an infrastructure that supports both our current and needs into the future. The demand has continued to rise for services, and we do not have the ability to continue to meet that effectively and efficiently in our current location. So at this point, I'm just asking for some feedback from the commissioners, whether there's interest in continuing the dialogue around a potential partnership and whether there's any interest in exploring an LTGO bond. I did have the opportunity to meet briefly with Tim several weeks ago with my CFO and my board chairperson, just to kind of prime a little bit of the discussion. And so at the end of that, we decided it may be appropriate to come here, solicit some feedback, questions, so that we can continue, hopefully we can continue the discussion, or if it's a non-starter right out the get, I need that information as well.
So you're looking at wanting to take out a bond to do this? Do you have that kind of money to pay it?
Yes, we have, yes, we are funded through the federal Medicaid. We get federal Medicaid dollars that flow through the state of Michigan. Our finances continue to rise year over year. Currently, our revenue for fiscal year 25 was 26,500,000. I can get you the exact numbers on that.
There are a lot of buildings empty. One of them I just seen today, Alma Products, which is a 2-story building, fairly new. Have you thought about looking at some other building to go into?
I've not looked at that one. I did look at the old, is it Mercantile Bank? Yeah, the old Mercantile Bank. We found that to be cost prohibitive just because of the amount of money we would have to put into remodeling it to make it fit the needs of a behavioral health agency.
I think what I see and we just went to a conference in Lansing, and it was very clearly that in the next future, which is this next year, there's going to be a great shortfall of money. And it is made very clear that we need to start looking at cuts on how to get it under control for our county. So what I'm saying is that you could take out a bond, but you're not guaranteed this money from the federal government or even the state. And so if that happens, you guys will be out.
Correct.
Because the county would not have money off either. And to do a millage, we have so many millages now. I just don't think that will go through, but anyway, just kind of I hate to be negative.
No, I appreciate the transparency. I understand.
Put it out to you straight.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. We are, according to the mental health code, the state of Michigan is required to fund community mental health agencies to meet the needs of individuals with the most severe persistent mental illness and individuals with intellectual disabilities, substance use disorders, children with severe emotional disturbance. So while the funding may change or look different into the future, I don't see a future where there's not a community mental health agency.
You just sit on the board for 15 years.
Okay, so you're very familiar.
I'm very familiar with it, yeah.
Save my
problem is, like I said, if you have no money, you have no money. That's the bottom line. And it's until we know a little bit more what's going to happen the first of the next year, if we're going to walk on eggshells.
Okay.
And but I think there's other opportunities that you could do, which what you've got now, you could switch over to another building and probably still be a little bit more secure than if you went out to build a brand new building. It takes, I would think, a good couple of years to build it.
Yeah, I've spoken with some builders and they thought let's get it done.
The interest rate right now is horrible. So I think it's a bad time, but.
Understand. Thank you for your comments.
My biggest concern is there's no doubt that there's a need for mental health.
Sorry?
There's no doubt that the need for mental health is big. It's getting bigger. It's not going anywhere. My fear is every month you're hearing about how is mental health going to look going forward. My fear would be we build a brand new building and the state of Michigan changes, we get a new governor next year. And you're in the middle of building your building that is now bonded through the county, our responsibility to pay for it. And Lansing says, we're gonna take over all that stuff and we're going to, they've done it before with many other things. Your locations of many state offices have changed. They're going through a change again right now because they're bringing all these employees back to work full time. So that's my fear, is that the unknown, and I know you can't be afraid of the unknown all the time.
Sure.
To build a new building, the size of a building you're gonna want and need. You're talking a lot of money to build that. I have a daughter who works in the industry, and if you had it ready to go today and it was slated to cost 150 million, by the time it's completed and you're moving in, it would be 200 million. Just because of the way that things happen and the targets move and cost, and that's if everything goes just kind of according to the way things are going right now. So that is my big concern. I have zero doubt. I've been in your building. It's old. I've been in your building, I've been in office, or I've been in meetings that were, in a room that was much too small to have the meeting in, but that's the meeting or the room we had to have the meeting in. So I respect that. I respect the need for mental health. My fear is we have all the great intentions and your office needs something different. But we're in the process and then something changes and now.
That's always a risk, right?
Yeah, that's always a risk. So I actually like the idea of if there was another building, there's plenty of empty buildings in this county. I know Elma is where you've always been located at. But and that's probably where you would like to stay because that's the largest population base. And people are used to being there. But, I wasn't even thinking of the Elma Products building. I was thinking, there has to be some other building that may be able to suit your needs. Obviously, they're gonna need some remodeling and that sort of thing.
Aren't you using the top floor of the hospital right now? For mental health for older, people that overdose or,
That's the hospital's
That's the-
program.
yeah, that's
That's completely
that's
separate.
what I wondered why you couldn't share, like, they've got an empty building next to the hospital. Why couldn't you take that and still, my understanding is that there's doctors now working out of the hospital. And why couldn't you do some of your work out of the hospital and it's still not paid for?
Because I'm not familiar with them having an empty wing of the hospital, but it's something that I can certainly take back to.
I think there's also an empty building right next door to it too.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah.
I hope we can come up with something that will work. You know what I mean? Because this problem is not gonna solve itself overnight. It's not going away. Well, I hope we can come up with something. And I don't know how my other fellow commissioners feel. those are my concerns when it's
I
not.
appreciate that's why I'm coming. I knew that there would be concerns. I was expecting and anticipating some of the uncertainty. We're all living with that, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing what's going to happen at the federal level. So are there any other questions or concerns or considerations that I should take back?
If there's anything like, if you're looking at buildings and want to ask a couple of commissioners to come along just to kind of look at it. One thing, I was on the board. I think George has been on the board and Tim's on the board. Yeah. And I understand, we do need mental health for sure. And I also see in the last 10 years, especially, like the hospital's never been paid off yet. And that was something that was supposed to have been paid off a long time ago. I'm just saying, I hate to see us getting involved in any more stuff that we have to worry about paying off. Maybe lose all of it and end up having to send people to Mount Pleasant or maybe Clinton County or Mocktop County because we will not be able to afford much. And the unknown is at our back door now.
Understood. Well, thank you for your time. I won't spend it. So have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, Gratiot Conservation District. It was hiding behind the bench.
Hi there, Kevin Craig. I'm one of the directors on the Gratiot Conservation District. I was here a couple of months ago and addressed you. I'm serving as the chairman, and several weeks ago, my district manager and myself met with Mr. Tim Dolahanty, and we talked about different things, mostly as an introduction for him to our district and our staff and what they do and some of the programs we administer. So I know he's familiar with conservation districts from where he came from. And so that was very helpful. It was a great meeting. One thing he left us with was start with the master plan. So I've been going through our Gratiot County master plan, and lo and behold, there's a number of references to agriculture, natural resources and the environment, recreation, and things that we throughout the year deal with and handle already. And starts off with the strengths and the weaknesses in the county. And one of the strengths is the Forest Hill Nature Center, which is property that we own in Seville Township. It's 90 acres. It's managed by the Gratiot Isabel GIRESD, and they do a super job. Erica Kemmler is the manager out there, and they host a number of school children, thousands of them really throughout the year, that come for the education and to use the property and to get education about the outdoors. It's also open to the public, all the trails and all the lakes and the whole property. Anybody can go out there and walk around. So it's a huge recreational facility. There's a bird watching tour every Saturday morning. I believe one of the gentlemen hosts that. And it's a great place. And so that's one of the things that we already do. One of the weaknesses that was mentioned here was Pine and Maple River suffer due to industry-related contaminants, which we know. Several years ago, Clinton County went through a watershed management plan, the plan as well as the implementation through the Maple River. And we were part of that because we share the watershed. We have, Gratiot Conservation has come up with a watershed management plan for the Upper Pine River. Back in 2018 or 19, we completed that plan, and now we're waiting for the implementation portion of it to take place. We do collaborate with the Healthy Pine River Group. I've been to several of their meetings and the breakfast they had. I hosted here a while back. They're a very active group and very interested, obviously, in returning the pine to where it was decades ago, where people could enjoy it for recreation, for fishing, for actually swimming. Not now, but that's the plan. That's the hope. Return it to that. Another page in here had the threats list, which was Pine River remediation. And so we're actively trying to assist, provide our technical support to that. Some of the existing conditions right now, we have the two watersheds, the Pine and the Maple River. They go through our county and also 3 state game areas. And so state game areas are very popular for hunters and also for bird watchers and people that just like to walk. We have a gentleman on our staff that is the farm bill biologist who deals with public property in that regard and habitat restoration, does plantings and uses seeds to restore the habitat for the animals and birds and things that we wish to thrive in the county. Also in here was some demographics about the agriculture landscape in the county. And most of you know it's very agricultural. And of the 365,000 total acres in the county, 863 acres are farms or woodlots or pastures already. The average farm size is 10 to 179 acres. There are 75 farms that are over 1,000 acres. There's many agribusinesses that support agriculture in the county, and we try to provide technical assistance free to residents and citizens, landowners that have a concern on their property. We'll go out for a site visit and they'll point out what they're not sure about, and we'll ask what their goals are. For instance, a woodlot. Is their goals a timber sale or is it just the aesthetics? And we'll try to help them provide that. We don't have a forester on staff, but if it gets to that point, we could provide them a list of nearby foresters to help them with the rest of their questions. The soils in Gratiot County are very conducive to cropland, to woodlots, to pastures. Page 44 goes into recreation, which includes farmers markets, which are very popular. We have in St. Louis and Alma and Ithaca already. And there's probably a couple others that wish to come on board, but the Gratiot Ag Expo, the Rural Urban Days, and there's a lot of hunting. Our fellow that takes care of that is in charge of the Hunter Access Program, which landowners can lease or make available for hunters to use, and they get paid for that number of acres. So involved with that portion of tourism and recreation in the county. Sustainable farming practices that include no-till and reduced till. There's been several biodigesters added in the county to handle the manure issue and produce natural gas, as a matter of fact. So cover crop practices have increased. The use of no-till drills and our grass seeder, which we rent out to farmers and landowners to use to start that practice if they haven't already. Also in the book were 5 priority pillars on page 72. One of them is to protect and visit Gratiot. So that included tourism, ag tourism, environmental protection, recreation, and the farmer markets. So all those things are things that we handle year round. Actually, we donated trees to our county parks and recreation to add to Hubshire Park and Reed Park. Also, there's another category in here on page 110, ready, set, invest in Gratiot. And the primary goals, the second goal is to support the ability of farmers to continue to actively engage in farming and sustainable agricultural practices. And, we're directing farmers and landowners to the programs that would assist them in sustainable agriculture and farming. We collaborate with FSA as well as the Natural Resources Conservation Service. They have federal funds that they can provide to farmers that install conservation practices. So again, we're helping out with the soils, protecting the environment by installing conservation practices that keep the soil where it needs to be and not in the creeks and ditches and rivers. We build awareness of recreational activities, like I mentioned, the Forest Hill. We have a web page and a Facebook page where we put on our events that are upcoming and activities that we like to direct landowners to and just citizens. You don't have to even live in the county to enjoy Forest Hill or even any of the other things we have here. You can come to a Rural Urban Days and not be a resident if you wish to support agriculture. With the Federal Clean Water Act, we're allowed to enroll in 319 grants, which is provides federal funding, like I was talking about the Maple River and also the Pine, non-point source water pollution. And so there's not a source that's identified, it's just a generalization of problems in the water. 319 grants is federal funds, and it helps, number one, with the planning part of it, where a contractor would go out and collect data properly and come up with a plan on how to address the issues wherever they are. And then the second part would be the implementation of that, where other contractors are hired to actually move dirt or dredge or do whatever the plan says to do, install stream bank protections. If it's eroding a stream bank, there's water or runoff from a road that's bringing sediment into the river. We don't want that. So we protect that as part of the 319 grant. Everything is watershed based. Watersheds don't care about county boundaries or state boundaries even, but we have 3 watersheds in our county, the Maple River, Pine, and then also the Bad River, which kind of goes also to the east too. And we work through Eagle to begin the management plan. They're very willing to work with us, and they know what we do. Any conservation district goes through the Eagle when they do a 319 grant. So I can provide you a list with these key points that I just went through, but it comes down to, as we talked to Mr. Tim, creating some sort of MOU, and we can continue that discussion at a future date. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you for presenting that. So
I'd like to continue to come back and address you in future needs as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Moving on, formal FOIA fee appeal. Tim, do you want to address that?
Yes, I did provide you a draft response to this appeal request. It's at your seat. This is a matter presented from Justin Myers from, I believe it was Superior, Wisconsin. Mr. Myers requested to receive under Freedom of Information Act all of the data that we have in our system for our GIS, all of our assessment data, all of our property attachment points. This is a very large data set that he's requested. He did request it under FOIA and has appealed the cost associated with this. I did respond on May 19th with a good faith estimate of $1,125 to fill this request. We, as a standard practice, request 50% of that up front before we start downloading data. This is broken into two components. Under the enhanced data policy that the board recently adopted, there have already been set fees for data such as this. In fact, the board set the fee for this particular data set at $1,000 long before I got here. The additional $125 is for a 1 terabyte thumb drive to hold this data. This is a huge data set. Think about 25,000 plus parcels across the entire county with all the tax information on it, all the zoning information on it, various other layers in our GIS on it. Huge file. I don't know if it's going to take a terabyte or not. If it's something less than that, obviously we'd get a thumb drive that costs less than the 125 terabyte. But remember, this is just a good faith estimate. So the appeal is based strictly on FOIA. The first point of the appeal is what the requester calls a financial, or rather a facial unlawfulness of a flat rate fee. And he does correctly cite MCL 15234 that states we can't set a flat fee for anything that we do under FOIA. Problem is, this isn't being granted under FOIA. It's being granted under the Enhanced Data Management Act, which I will talk about more in a second. So that just simply doesn't apply as far as the FOIA is concerned. If it did, we would be forced to provide this at the cost of any hardware that we would have to put this on. So if it's 1 terabyte or 800 gigabytes, whatever it might be, that would be the end. You would not get to recover any of the cost of putting all that together. The requester then states that the Enhanced Data Access Act pricing cannot limit FOIA rights. And he quotes explicitly under the FOIA Act that we cannot limit the inspection and copying of a public record pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, and that we cannot substitute our own pricing framework. Where this particular statement fails is that we've not limited anybody's ability to inspect or copy the data. We have on our webpage a link that takes you right to the GIS itself. You can zero in on whatever parcel you want, click on it, and get all the tax assessment information that we have available for that parcel. Where it's inconvenient for the requester is he doesn't have all of that at his disposal where he can repackage it and sell it retail somewhere else. But he can get the data. We do provide that to anybody who wants it on demand on the webpage. So that particular argument fails. The next was the imposition of what he called unnecessary inflated media fees. Well, as I explained, if we were to download this and we could get it on something less than a terabyte thumb drive, we would do that. If it required that we get a 2 terabyte thumb drive, and I don't know what I'm talking about, okay? I don't know what a terabyte is. I have no clue about how all that works. But if we needed a 2 terabyte, if that's something that exists, that's what we would provide it on. But that's not what we've been asked to do. Finally, the appeal is based on what is, and I quote, a complete failure to itemize labor. Well, number one, under FOIA, we do have to itemize our labor fees, and there's a specific formula for doing that. The reply that I provided for the $1,120, there is no labor. That's why you don't see any itemized labor. What this would do, if we did end up downloading this on a thumb drive, literally we tell the computer to do it and we walk away and go about our business. So there just is no labor to speak of. So what I prepared for you here is a letter that would be sent in response to this, and in fact, denying the appeal of the fee. For each of the reasons I've cited, a lot more words involved, but citing each specific statute, we are required to respond to these type of requests in a very specific way under statute. As a board, you have three choices. Number one, you could grant the appeal and say, yes, you can have all of the data at no cost. Or number two, you can say you can have all of the data at a reduced cost and justify the reduced cost. Or number three, you deny the appeal, which is what I'm recommending that you do here. You have policies already in place that deal with these kinds of requests. Requesters don't get to pick and choose which statute they're going to use to acquire that data, but the statutes themselves are referring to each other. The Freedom of Information Act specifically states that the fee section does not apply to public records prepared under another act or another statute specifically allowing for us to do exactly what we've done with the enhanced data access policy that's been adopted. So I'd recommend that the appeal be denied and that you authorize the chair to sign the letter that's in front of you, and it will be sent to the requester first thing in the morning.
I so move that we approve the letter to the response to Mr. Justin Myers as presented to us for the.
Moved by Steve, supported by Tim, to deny the fee appeal for the FOIA request. All those in favor, say aye. Motion carried. Consideration to approve resolution 26-432 to approve an agreement for BSNA services.
This is a request to allow us to proceed with the update of the transition of our BSNA system to the cloud platform. Again, I'm moving into all sorts of terminology I don't typically have to deal with, but I think I can discuss this one a little bit more intelligently. This turns out to not really be a choice. Our carrier for BSNA is going to the cloud, and at a certain point, they're going to discontinue any kind of upgrade to the current system we have, we call the .NET system. What this resolution will do, frankly, at this point, is just allow us to get in line. There are 83 counties in Michigan. The vast majority of them use BSNA. They have at BSNA, I believe, 2 employees dedicated to county transition to cloud. So you can see there are going to be a lot of people in line. We would like to get in line, not first. We don't want to have to work out the bugs, but we don't want to wait, and be last in line and maybe run the chance of having our software go out of date. Now, this is a pretty big price tag. This is going to be done over a few years, but $200,020. This is broken down into our annual fee. We will have to have an annual subscription like we do now. That's $99,220. The balance is the actual conversion. First is the project management and planning, just over $40,000. Next is the actual setup of our system, just over $11,000. And then finally, a $37,000 training element. So why so much on training? Well, we use this system for the entire financial system of the county. So all the accounting is on there. All of the tax records, all of the tax payments are on there by parcel. Remember 25,000 parcels? They all have a tax bill associated with them. That's all on the system. All of our permitting is done through the system itself. And third, well, of course, no, this is all tied back to the GIS too, because with that third element, all of our tax assessing data is on this system. We are dependent on the system to work. There are other vendors out there, but to convert to somebody else's system right now, 37,000, you might as well double it for training because we would all have to be trained on a brand new system. At least in this case, we're sticking with BSNA. A lot of the elements are the same. We just got to get it transferred to the cloud and go through the cloud training, understand how that works for each department, get it programmed and get it up and running. So that's the nutshell version. You have a copy of the contract there that gives you a little bit more detail, all the attributes of the system and what we're buying. But again, this will be a multi-year project, no question. And I'm not even sure if fiscal year 27, we're going to see any of these costs, but we've got to put get our place in line now so that we don't end up on the wrong end of the discontinuing of the current system.
I have one question. So it's money, and it's going to take a couple of years. Is there interest on that? Yeah.
And this is a flat rate that they're giving us. And you saw that, I heard the breakdown that I gave you. And those are costs that we contract, that's the cost.
Okay.
Won't go up from there if it does take till 28 to get it done.
Okay.
My question is, okay. And I didn't see it in any of the breakdowns here. When, I shouldn't say when, if there comes a time where BSNA falls out of favor with Gratiot County, shall we say, even though we do a lot of things with it. Our data is now stored in their cloud. What's the process for us to be able to retain that or get it back so that it could be interjected into, let's say, 5, 10, 15 years from now? Something happens with BSNA, we're not happy. I want that protection. That's my question.
You see in the contract, we own the data. The data is ours and they don't claim it. But that has actually happened before. There was a village up in Leelanau County that had its tax data with another vendor. That vendor fell out of favor. They went to a system like BSNA and the vendor refused to give up the data. And there was quite a legal battle. The village owns the data, so they were able to get it. Matt's on here, so if I misspeak, he can correct me, but in terms that I understand, right now, all of this data, all of our data resides on our network, on our servers. Cloud is really a server someplace else. We don't have to maintain the server or worry about upgrades anymore if it's in the cloud, but we still get the data. So if we need the data downloaded and sent to us, they'll do that. Don't ask me what format that comes in. One of these terabyte thing, I don't know, but we would get the data. And then the next vendor, it would be incumbent upon them to load that onto their system in a manner that makes sense. And that's the tough part, because if things aren't lined up perfectly, somebody's parcel data might be in the address line, and then all of that has to be, corrected. And that's quite a task. I've been through one of those. Rather than go through one again, but things happen. But that's it. And they're a reputable enough company that I don't believe they would do anything to disrupt that. But I think the disruption would be converting it to a different program.
That's the only concern. I read through that. Very straightforward. I mean, they're forcing our hand. They're forcing it upon every township. Everybody's going to be dealing with the same exact, every entity that uses it's going to be using, forced to do the same thing. Just that protection of that legacy data and being able to actually get it. I don't see anything really with us falling out of way with BSNA. My bigger fear is that there'll be a consolidation and let's say the bigger firm consolidates with BSNA. Well, then you're forced to come to their software. We don't like it as well. That's where I can see a problem.
And I will, commend Todd for actually talking with the townships and the cities about this as well. There's no reason why we go through this alone. There's no reason why they go through it alone. Let's go through this. If we all go through the door at the same time, we're all better off for it. We've got each other to lean on.
So what happens, now you can put stuff on your computer and somebody hacks in. Can somebody hack into the cloud?
The safeguards are probably way better than what we could ever imagine getting for Gratiot County. In fact, we just went through a review and you'll see a policy at the next meeting on information technology. Just got a review from this. We commended what we're doing right now. That we are already in the upper threshold of protections for a county our size. That being said, we're still vulnerable. We know that. We're taking precautions every day. In theory, with this going to the BSNA cloud, the protections are enhanced. In theory, can somebody penetrate that? Yeah, probably. I couldn't, but somebody who really was intent, maybe they could. But the chances are lessened quite a bit.
We'll let Dave work on that.
Sure.
We're in trouble. Do I hear a motion?
I so move that we approve Resolution 26432 as presented for the BSNA IP service.
I'll second it.
Moved by Steve and supported by Jan. Got plenty in this, so we should do a roll call.
Commissioner Sapsi,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes. Motion carried. Moving on, consideration to approve resolution 26 431 to submit to the electorate a special millage question for authorization of a countywide public transit. Who wants to talk on that?
I can speak to the resolution, and it's one that, again, would just put the question on the ballot. I did leave some blanks in here. There's one other highlight. I know there's discussion about what type of millage rate you would need. There is attached to your resolution a millage rate table. You can look at what half a mil would do, what 0.6 would do, and so forth. That would have to be inserted in the dollar amount in the first year of collection. So what you're seeing that table, whichever one shows it, should you choose to do that, would be inserted here. The second question is the duration. If you were to approve this, the draft says 6 years. That's just to fill in the spot. You could do 4 years, you could do 2 years, you could do 8 years, whatever your choice was. So those are two open questions that you'll need to debate at the table. Otherwise, the resolution is standard format to get an item on the ballot.
6 years seems a long time to me.
Normally there are 5, I believe. All of our millage, 5.
I would suggest that you avoid an odd number so that you don't have to fund a special election.
Well, we just wanted, if we can do it, yeah, well, remember 6 or 5. Am I speaking wrong? It's 5 years.
You lost.
6 years? I'm wrong. Okay.
We didn't get the grant, but we're not going.
Right, we'll let the Alma Transit people speak to that. Here's the question. Question had to do with the MDOT grant and how that plays into this.
Sure. The MDOT grant would be available for 3 years. So it would cover 100% of the startup costs for the capital and also the training of any new employees. After that initial startup, the coverage would be at 90%. So it'd cover up to 90% of the operational costs. The second year is 80%, then the third year would be at 70%.
This is just to get the grant, right?
Correct.
If we don't get the grant, then what would happen?
Well, then you could rescind your resolution, I would imagine, if you didn't want to move forward, because costs would be substantially more. The
I
equipment.
wanted everyone to understand too, that we're going on the grant. If the grant doesn't come through, then we wouldn't be able to afford it. But that doesn't mean we couldn't try again later on if another grant comes up. My concern is, again, we went to a conference and this was a big issue, one of the first issues, in fact, of the shortfall that we're going to face coming into the next year. And so, I mean, I'm 100% for transportation, but if this money doesn't come, if we get cut, or you guys don't get that grant, we wouldn't be able to do it. I hate to see any more people lose homes or their property or businesses because of a millage. So we're kind of like teeter-totting here. You need to know so you can write the grant, right?
Correct.
Will you be able to write that grant in time to find out before the millage?
I've already started because I couldn't do it in the shorter time frame that I've been given, so.
When will some time, Brett, when will we know if we've been awarded that grant?
October. So it'd be before the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say we're gonna be knowing before.
Everything's printed and ready to rock and roll by then.
Yeah.
So, I have a number of questions about it. I took these numbers, I scanned them, I sent it to every one of my townships and villages, and I got an overwhelming resounding no from every single one. Not that there isn't an interest for transit. In some were a hell no, some were a no. We understand the need for transit. I respect the gentleman who came in here and spoke. I have elderly parents. Who knows? That could be me someday, that same situation. My big concern is when you look at these numbers, as a young person told me, these numbers, this math ain't math. You can't tell me that we're gonna cover 92%, because if you take the city of Elma, the city of Ithaca, and be generous, just go by square miles, not the actual footprint of the town, and add Pine River Township, you cover 8% of the county. You're gonna add 92% more value of the county. And the projection is we're gonna do that in 70,000 miles. Have you figured out how many trips you can make?
Well, that's a projection, like a budget, Steve. So.
I get it, but
Yep, absolutely.
that's how we came to this budget,
Sure.
is for 0.5 mils.
So what I can tell you is when Slipper came to be, when we started service in Ithaca, people had to learn about the service, they had to try the service and learn how to use the service. So obviously the ridership wasn't there. Now, over the years, the ridership has, I mean, if we were to take it away, I'm sure we could fill the place up with people being angry that they don't want to lose the service. So that's an initial budget, initial projections, because you got to educate the people, they got to try it. And once they try it, I'm sure they'll like it, because that's what everybody else is.
As the system functions today, I drive in Ithaca, I drive in St. Louis, I drive in Alma, I drive in Pine River Township. You can't drive anywhere without seeing that bus.
Sure.
The question is, that service level is not going to be there for everybody else. If you live in Bannister, Ashley, Pompeii, Perrington, Middleton, Sickles, North Star, well, maybe North Star, close to Ithaca, but it's not going to be there. The people that live in Rainbow Lake are not going to see a boat, are not going to see a bus all the time. It's not going to happen.
If they call for service, they're going to see a bus.
And so
That's how it works.
I get that. So
Yeah.
if you live in the far southeast corner of Gratiot County, down where I live, the farthest house, I went to their address and I typed in your address. It's 32 miles. It says that, and I think this is from, the average ride is 4 miles, and that must be from your current data, not projected what it's going to be.
Right. Yeah.
So with those numbers, then I started looking at, we talked about the last time, Blue Bus.
Yeah.
We're estimating we're gonna drive 360,000 miles. Clinton County, which is our neighbor to the south, drive between 950,000 and 1.2 million. I think it's 1,900,000 or 1,190 some thousand miles in a year. That's a vast difference. And I know people who live in the rural parts of Clinton County, because it's literally out my front door of my house. I can see it. They don't see a Blue Bus. They don't, it's not a reliable service for them, even though they're elderly, don't have a driver's license, those things. I don't know whether they're calling. I don't sit at their house. I don't want to sit at their house. But there's just people that were bickering about this. So it is, I talked to a lot of people about this.
I'm not here to beat anybody up to take the service, Steve.
I understand completely.
Sure.
I'm concerned that we have I talked to Casey just last night about this. This has been on the master plan or horizon for 20 years. When you look at the statistical data for the state of Michigan, what's their quote that I read on the just today again, when I was looking through this? In mid-Michigan, rural transit is widely considered a failure, not from lack of effort, but due to structural underfunding, massive coverage gaps, and post-pandemic ridership collapse, which I know is coming back a little bit. Rather than functioning as a robust mass transit system, the region's sparse network operate primarily on a heavily subsidized, and that's their safety net, is this heavily subsidization. Saginaw just had their STARS, Saginaw Transit Authority, cut 19% at $444,000. So I don't see how the state of Michigan is going to come in and get a grant to Gratiot County when you just cut our next door neighbors $500,000.
Because this is what the grant is for, expansion.
I understand, but grants, we see them come and go all the time. They promise all kinds of things and then they peter out and they're not there. That's my fear in this, is we're going to get everybody's hopes up. If we have to fund this thing on 0.5 mils, it is going to fail miserably.
I don't think so. I disagree, but
No, your numbers don't, there's no way in hell you can run this on $1,016,843. And there's a discrepancy in these two numbers, but 66 cents or 16 cents. Irrelevant. It's not going to, you're not going to live where I live and you're not going to live where Bob lives and see a bus on a regular basis making these trips. The number of buses you're adding, the number of full-time staff you're adding. So what happens if the people who live 32 miles away call on a daily basis and need a ride?
first come, first served basis. So if they call, we will come.
First serve if you live close to Elma.
No, that's not how it works, Steve.
But, well,
But
in theory,
Okay.
yes, but so it was brought up last night at the Parrington meeting. So there's a call for somebody who lives in Parrington, Michigan to ride the bus. So you're not just gonna drive to Parrington and pick somebody up to go to Myers. You're gonna drive to every other place that needs somebody to ride on the bus. That's what I assume.
So,
I mean, we see a lot of buses with one person on them. I see them all the time.
sure, yeah.
I see them at the parking lot of Myers. I see them on the road. So but it's not gonna be economically feasible to drive 32 miles one way, pick one person up, and then drive all the way back to Elm.
We currently drive one person up to Mount Pleasant and come back usually with nobody for $4. So, I mean, that's how the system works. We have a computerized dispatching software that we utilize. They have a parameter that they want people to be on the bus. And so if you have a 30-mile ride, so obviously you're probably looking at a 45-minute ride total, because yes, I mean, if there's people close, we're gonna pick those people up. That's how we become economically feasible. Right? And grouping those trips.
That was their concern. I can't call and get a ride in Parrington to Myers and intend on getting my groceries. It's great if I'm buying dry goods or bread, but you're not gonna want to buy a gallon of ice cream. Because if it's gonna end up taking, if we're gonna end up going to Riverdale and Elwell and Elm Hall and then down to a roundabout way to get here, well.
I'm not gonna have people on the bus for 2 hours. That's not gonna happen.
Well, when it's already 32 miles and it takes you 45 minutes to get to one, because you don't drive like a police car down there. I know that, so.
No, it couldn't be.
But so that is my biggest concern is a whole bunch of people are gonna be paying for a service that is gonna be, for lack of better words, non-viable system for them. You know what I mean? That is what I heard from township after township after township after township, is the way it was presented with the amount of miles predicted to drive. Do you realize that if you work 6 days a week, which I believe you work 6 days a week, right?
5 currently.
Well, 5. If you drive Monday through Friday, and if you don't stop and pick up a soul, and you drive 10 miles west from Elma, turn left and drive 20 miles south, turn left and drive 20 miles east, turn left, drive 20 miles north, turn left, and drive 10 miles back to Elma. You can't make 2 round trips in a day and do it in 70,000 miles. So I don't know how that's gonna work. So we could have one group of people that could get to their destination and back home. But if you went on the next one, Elma better build a place for people to spend the night. Because to do it in the numbers provided, it's not feasible. It's gonna go over. And that's not stopping anywhere. That's just driving the miles. That isn't going into each one of these little towns and picking people up. Because if people used it the way I would love to see it work, trust me, I would love to see it work. I would love to see a transit bus who had that, like you have buses dedicated to districts. You have a bus dedicated that comes and does certain things in Ithaca and Pine River Township and Elm. I don't know how your system works for sure, but I mean, you have 6 buses on the road at a time or whatever you have, and your computer aided dispatch is going up. in order to make this thing fully work, are the people in Alma, Ithaca, and Pine River Township willing to accept a lower amount of service?
I think the people who need the service will get the service. That's my contention, is that with the staffing level that I proposed, we can do that.
Not if that many people in the Out County start riding it at the rate that you have right now. It's impossible. It's impossible. I mean, the staff isn't there, the buses aren't there, the miles aren't there to even get in the ballpark.
Again, Steve, that's a starting budget as far as a guesstimate is, because people, if we were to go countywide tomorrow, people in Bannister aren't probably going to be calling for service until they learn about it, how to use it, and then, actually pick up the phone and book a ride. So
if we go after a $500,000, that's what you got to work with.
Right. Now, see,
so that's the problem.
You have
this is what it's going to cost.
And you also have a fare box, you have all different kinds of funding mechanisms, because we get money from the state and we get money from the federal government as well. So, I mean, if you take that $1 million and you leverage the normal 56%, so for every dollar that we spend, we get 56 cents back reimbursed. I mean, then you're looking, that's where those dollars come. It's real accounting, and I'm not that smart. That's why I have an accountant. But she assures me that those numbers are good.
Okay, one of the things I want to ask is, okay, so there's several issues in this. One issue is in October, you'll know if you get the grant. If you don't get the grant, then prove, and you will have to stay a couple of nights and redo the,
Printer to print.
The absentee ballots will be out in the mail at that time
they
too.
will be out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It really comes down to, James, like we said when we were here last,
That's right.
is the only reason we came at this moment is we got other jurisdictions that came to us and said, hey, we'd like to join. How did Slipper happen? Then the conversation went, why piecemeal it together? Look at a whole countywide system. Look at it now. And then we had discussions like, well, maybe we just hold off on it because the upfront cost of building it out, it just, and plus talking to people, what Steve's bringing up here of getting people on board, getting them comfortable and everything else.
Oh.
This funding opportunity came up 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago. That's why we came, because if we didn't at least talk to you about the opportunity, then I feel from my side of things that I didn't do what's best for not just us and Slipper, but for the whole county. Because ultimately, county successful, we're successful, county successful. It's not a us against you or you against us. We're in this together. Like Brett said, not trying to drag anybody into this. If that's your decision, that's your decision. Slipper has another 4.5 years left on their millage. Things are working. Everyone's happy. The vote went 67, almost 68%. So
my question is, how long has Slipper been around now?
This is the first round was 3, so this is 4, 5. 5.
So it's been around for that long. We decided to think about countywide when a grant opportunity became available. I talked about this with Casey just last night. This would have been really good if we would have put together a study group of a member from each township, each village, the people from our, your retirement services, your local churches, the people who are already servicing people in need. So that we had a package ready to rock and roll. We didn't do any of that. I'm sorry.
No.
I don't know whose accounting came up with these numbers. I was sitting in a meeting in his township that was heavily attended because of some sewer concerns. Those people sitting in that meeting drive 70,000 miles in Gratiot County, and there was, 16 people there. It doesn't take very much to come up with 70,000 miles. So that's what started me looking into what is other counties doing. With way less, it's not hard to find a transit system. It's not hard to even find these numbers. It's not hard statistics. In the transit system and the statistics, they'll tell you all kinds of stuff about. And mileage is one of the things that pops up. So that's how I was able to get these. And it's just me sitting with my iPad, drinking a cup of coffee, digging into all this information. And that's where I'm like, our numbers, they don't add up to what other people are doing. That's where I'm like, I don't know where these numbers came from, but most of the counties in the city of Michigan are 24 miles by 24 miles for the most part. So, I mean, roads, length of travel, that sort of thing. You got townships or counties that half the counties in state land. Nobody living there drive more miles than this by a long shot. So that's where they don't have a town as big as Elma. They don't have none of that. They don't have a Myers and a Walmart. They don't have a hospital where people are going to actually want to go to. And they're driving more miles than this. So that's where I was really like, this doesn't add up to be a viable system the way it's presented. And if we have to double, triple, I mean, I'm thinking your number of miles driven are going to be 3 times that. You can't get 3 times as many miles because that's 3 times as many hours, 3 times as much fuel, and do it on that amount of money. It's possible. I don't care how much money the state, the feds give you back. That math ain't mathing. That's what some young person told me at a meeting. Math ain't mathing. That's sketchy. Yeah, well, that's what how kids talk. But that's the truth. And that's my concern is we're gonna get everybody's hopes up. And because if we don't get this MDOT grant, there ain't no way in the world that thing's gonna work.
0.5, I agree with you all.
No way in the world that'll work. No way in the world.
That's not doable.
It's not. So then you got it on the ballot, you got people voting. So then what? It passed.
That's my next question, Steve. If we were to decide to go ahead and the grant didn't come through, it's already October, then what do we do? Because we know 0.8 is it won't even go.
No.
It won't go. And besides that, it's not doable. So we all understand that. So if it's not doable, what do we do, clerk? I guess I have to ask you because you're the one that should have the knowledge of what do we do now?
Well, I would think on your 4029, you can just put 0 for the transportation millage and not collect it for the tax season.
So in other words, I don't want people to be in jeopardy. I don't want the county to be in jeopardy. I just want good for everybody, for all concerned. So in other words, if we were to say yes at 0.5, put it on the ballot at 0.5, and for whatever ungodly reason, and I suspect we're going to get it, I'm hopeful. But if we didn't get it, then we can adjust it to say 0, and we don't collect it, and no harm, no foul.
But then their slipper.
Would there still be in effect?
No.
Yeah, well, what will happen is that let's play this through. Let's say it passes in November, but we didn't get the grant. Keegan will come to you with a revised form to send to the state about any millages that pass in November so that you can collect those. For that particular one, you set that one at 0.
But I moved on for that question. My next question is what happens to Elma Transit and Slipper?
They're unaffected.
She just said they were. So we have a conflict.
That's right, because it would all.
Trying to trump another millage.
You're right.
And that's what the decision is here, tonight is if you want to move forward, you move forward. If you don't, then, we don't need to apply for any.
But even if we collect 0, it still negates their millage, right?
You guys, what if,
You got another.
That's what I'm trying to get it
why
straight in
does
my
it
head.
have to be a county line, a county-wide?
So I want to be fair to all
Can it
concerned
be-
here.
If you've already got St. Louis and Ithaca and Alma, and I know Breckenridge was interested in one time because they wanted to take kids out to the swimming. So why couldn't some of these other places?
Each individual township then, Jan, would have to have their own ballot language for their township.
Is that?
And the discussion that we had before, it's like what Steve was bringing up was, right now it doesn't make sense because we didn't know about this money here. Because we need to talk to townships, we need to get everything that you just said. is to get people comfortable. This is what it could be. This is what you need, those sorts of things. That's 2 years out because the next election would be 2 years out. But this came up. That's why we're discussing it.
Or is that state, the one that just came up? State? Should I be a little concerned then?
Tell us by statute. The law is by statute.
Eric, you might know the answer to this. I think I'm getting to Commissioner Bailey's question. This would be a millage that's considered completely separate from any millage you collect for slipper or anything else. So really, I mean, you would still, at this level, you would still say zero, but if it passed and we did get the grant, those communities would have to set theirs at zero because they're not expiring, right? So this isn't.
They wouldn't be able to collect that millage. I'm just trying to get this straight in my head. I'm still confused.
No, because it would be a substitution. It would be, we would relinquish, slipper would relinquish its millage.
Right.
We wouldn't vote ours in. Ours is voted on by our city commission each year.
Okay.
We can vote to 1 mil, transportation voted on by
All right. You're sorry.
yep. We would say, yeah, obviously, we're not gonna vote for that millage going forward. So that's all, right now what we're talking about.
So we're saying, when you said no, and I kind of.
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, you stay on it.
So, but you're bringing up a very good question, because I don't know either how that would end up. If they got voted yes, but we didn't get the grant monies or enough grant money, say they only gave you 50%.
Millages.
I got unanswered questions.
Because I don't want to see anything happen to what you're already doing. Like I said, I see you all the time. I mean, you guys have had this Elma transport.
I was hoping there would be no harm, no foul, and we'd go on with.
It's been around,
Sound like
basically my whole.
Ultimately, it will be. Yes, ultimately, that would be the case.
I mean, 50 some years. So I mean, I don't want to see something happen to that, what you have, a good thing, if something falls apart on this, because it can't be funded with 0.5 mils. It can't.
Well, it would be. I'm just logically putting this in my head. October, we don't get the grant. Instruct the clerk to go to zero.
Well, you will vote to go to zero.
Well, I say the commission will instruct the clerk to go to zero. Therefore, Slipper and Elma Transit would be in play. Because we would collect no taxes off the 5, and they could continue to collect taxes off their 0.8.
Those people voted, those people in those jurisdictions are voting to go to 0.5 for transportation.
You can have more than 1 millage.
And then if it passes, then if it,
This would be a new millage regardless. In theory,
so they're.
they
gonna
wouldn't
get
do this, but
0.8
in
and
theory,
0.5?
Slipper could continue to collect until whatever date that expires. Could in theory do that. I wouldn't suggest that that's a best practice, but they could. So, I guess that's we're depending on that to happen.
I read where you have till July 27th. Don't you to do?
To submit.
To submit to the end of June.
Well, the end of
Submit at the end of
June.
It's not July. It's
Oh, the end of June.
Talking about this now.
In
June.
And
But the problem is just that the schedule doesn't work if your absentee ballot's going out, you gotta have your language out. With July's language, then your absentee ballots are going out before or. And there's no guarantee, say we ask for what we have in this budget. And they come back, because that happens in grants all the time, is, okay, we'll fund you at 70% of what you've asked for. Which will not get us or whatever, where we need to be here. We have a discussion with you.
So I'm gonna repeat myself one more time, just so I understand. If, in fact, the grant that Brett is currently writing, and he submits it on time, and everything being given good on our end, if the state would decide not to give us that grant, we would go to a zero collection. If we went, and by going to a zero collection, we allow Slipper and Elma Transit to stay in play.
I don't want to be the devil's advocate here, but I think
Yeah.
if you're gonna take a swing at the bat, if you're gonna step up to the plate and swing to try and have transit, and then that thing falls through, and you take it off the ballot or change the verbiage of it, you're done. You might as well bookshelf it, say.
Well, I got
Out of your.
I got news for you. Unless we get another grant, we'll never have it.
So,
I mean, you got a shot right now where you got a grant possibility, or you just forget it forever and take it off your master plan because it's not gonna happen. Now, I look at it like, let the voters decide. Put it on there, let the voters decide, they'll tell us what they want. I'm a commissioner, I represent all people.
I asked every single person that I represent or the boards that I didn't go to every.
You didn't ask you asked the board, you didn't ask everybody.
No, but that's the only communication I have. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask.
But I'm,
Person that lives in that.
I
have to go with the people that I deal with, and every single one of them said no.
well,
Every single.
I got every single one of them right here on a piece of paper said yes, so we can go back and forth all the time.
And I've talked to many farmers that live in your jurisdiction who said, hell no. So, you know.
And some that said no, but the 5.5 is a heck of a lot better than 0.8.
I only talked to one person on the phone, and he's very influential, so. And he said, have him put it on the ballot, let the people decide. I just hope people realize what they're voting for and what'll happen.
That, we can only do our best, Tim, and let the people vote, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's the only feedback I have.
If this moves forward, then obviously there'd have to be an educational piece that would go along with the, letting the voters know what they're voting for.
If this went forward beyond the November ballot, would you campaign for it? Would you public?
We can't campaign for it. We can all give information to vote.
You can get
what it means. Yeah, we give information on what it means, what you be expected, what we're looking to do. But like we said here, if we did come back and it's not funded 100%, then you cannot hit these numbers. Now, I don't want to turn public transportation into a negative. That's the last thing I want to do, because we had before Slipper got started, there was a little bit of apprehension. This can't work. Well, it did work. And then when they had the second millage, vote, it went through more than unanimously. It changed people's minds. I don't want to make something that tarnishes our system or the potential for the system to be good or useful for folks. So I understand it's terrible timing from a standpoint of making this decision, but we have, at least make a decision, whatever the decision is, that we've talked about it, at least it's been out there, and hopefully that bodes well for us one way or the other, here in the near future or in the future at some other point. So that's, we're not here to try to sell anybody on anything. There's an opportunity. There's a need, and that's why we're here. So.
Well, and Tim, there will be articles in the Morning Sun and the Gratiot County Herald explaining this. Like they say, they can't go out and push for it, but
I mean,
it can ask him to come and talk.
when Slipper was formed, there was a Friends of Alma Transit that put together, obviously it wasn't us, it was somebody else, but I imagine if there's some folks out there that are very interested in the service that we provide, we'll probably do something similar. We're looking at a countywide ask as well, so. Just can't be.
Done asking questions?
Well, do we need to make a motion to vote?
Yeah.
Before you can make a motion to vote on something, you gotta figure out how you're gonna fill in the blanks on what you're asking for.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, obviously your Slipper, if you're in your second vote and you've only been doing it for 4.5 years, or you got 4.5 years left on it, you didn't do 6 years on your first crack at it. So that decision has to be made first and foremost. If we've already settled on 0.5, because that's what is here, you gotta then decide how many years, if you guys are.
Either go 4 or 3 years, I would suggest. Throw it out there.
Would be, Mr. Chair, could we go back to the gallery?
Oh, yeah.
Standing here.
Yeah, you don't stand it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's our discussion. I say we give it 4 years because they've got all the grants and everything else. It'd be there for 3 years. And then 1 year standalone, it would show us whether we can do it or not and put 4 years.
I had a question for you though. Let me make sure I got this in my mind. So we do this and just say that it goes down, but you've got Breckenridge and you've got North Star, and you say it has voted that they want it. Can you still pick them up? You can't.
So it's an all or nothing kind of deal.
Yeah. But what if we don't do it? Can you still pick them up on their own?
If you wanted to sit down.
No, yeah, it would have to be similar to what Slipper did. They necessarily wouldn't have to create an authority, but they'd have to have some sort of a vote. But now we're on these 2-year cycles for votes, unless they want to pay for a special election, which typically you don't want to. You want to avoid that. You don't want to spend money on that.
I know there is some towns, I know that there is some areas that would like to have it. But also you're talking about 46, you have 46, anybody that lives on 46. That's why you have St. Louis and you have Pine River Township. And I'm sure you could pick up a couple more there because it's easy to go in that area.
And that's not a bad idea. And that's where this got started with at least the discussion was, there was a couple communities along 46 that was interested in doing it. They talked about, can we join Slipper? No, it's not that easy just to join Slipper and go into your millage. With that, they didn't want to break their millage cycle. So they'd have to create their own millage, say for 2 years, so you could catch up and be on the same cycle. And it could be, you could piecemeal. That's the piecemeal we're talking about. But you got every 2 years now. And it's rare if someone or an organization will do a special millage because you just don't want to spend those dollars to do that.
Yeah.
So
But I do know that people do need rides in certain areas, so.
Brett and his crew get on a daily basis from, like we just had this discussion, you see our bus going by, stop here, why can't it stop here? And
You can't. They can't pay extra money.
it's that, but I mean, that is a way forward, but there's no way that someone's gonna get a millage around in a township or a village to be ready for this election here in November. It's just not going to happen. And like I said, we wouldn't be here talking to you if it wasn't for this opportunity either, because it's really a tight window.
Yeah.
So, but it's an important discussion to have because transportation is a big deal. Not just for the folks who, have lost a license or ability to drive for some purpose, just for, say our more rural areas. I know Ashley's really trying to find some ways to get some more housing down there. Well, that housing might be more amenable to a developer if there was a public transit into the more urban areas or connecting with Clinton Township, Clinton County to go down to St. John's, because that's, actually a little bit closer than it is to come up to Alma. So, so there's positives to it, but it's a real decision. I mean,
Well, somebody who's needed a lot of rides at many times, I have to tell you, when I had the pizzeria, my car wasn't running. I'd go outside, wait on the corner, and somebody would go by that was buying it. They had bought a pizza from me. I go, where are you going? I need to get to Alma. Oh, get in. So they take me to Alma and drop me off. I did what I had to do. I can't remember now. Then I go back out, stand on the sidewalk again and wait till I found something I knew and get a ride to go back to St. Louis. So that once, county is so small, but really I understand that this subject is very important to a lot of people that cannot get out, that can't drive. I have a friend who can no longer see, she can no longer drive. And I go give her rides, but it is sad because they have a lonely life. it's almost like a prison when you know you can't get to the grocery store or you can't go look. You just can't go shopping, you can't go garage selling, you can't go visit a friend because you don't have a vehicle that you can no longer drive. So I know this is a very important subject that we're talking about tonight.
Thanks, sir. So I think we should put the 0.5 in there where it says a blank. And 4, I say 4 years. Discussion.
I would go with 4 years.
Where's the, I got the 0.5, where's the,
It's written in there 6 years.
Oh, 6.
It's still something.
change that to 4?
He was just throwing it in there.
That's a good idea.
That would raise up to $1,000,000.
Oh.
$16,843.
I make a motion to vote for the,
Well, you should, the resolution's there, if you look it up.
it's a resolution.
Yeah, it's on a resolution.
Page 32.
Yeah, I can approve a resolution 26431 to submit to the electorate a special millage question for authorization of a countywide public transit millage proposal.
Okay.
So
I just want to say to our administrator, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
No, I think you've covered it as far as the technical components of the resolution and the millage, that those are the main things. It comes down to your vote.
Okay, thank you.
I'll support.
we'll support it.
Moved by Tim, supported by George, to approve resolution number 26-431. We should have a roll call on that.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy,
No.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes. Motion carried. If somebody would wake up that guy that's sitting next to the computer.
Sorry, we're boring you.
Okay, discussion and report of finance and budget matters.
Item. Was that?
Oh,
Yes.
excuse me. Hold on a second.
Did you overlook something?
Consideration to rescind the May 5th motion.
What motion? Oh,
Last
yours from last time.
I so move that in accordance with section 8.3.10 of the adopted Board of Commissioners Rules of Organization adopted April 21, 2026, I move to rescind May 5th, 2026 motion to approve $5,000 for employee engagement group to cover employee events. Having provided advance notice of intent to present this motion to rescind the motion is approved on approval by a simple majority. Oh, God, I need to read that. Order.
Moved by Steve and supported by Tim to rescind the May 5th motion for the Christmas party. There was money there. We should have a roll call.
Commissioner Bunting,
I'm just trying to think.
If you vote yes, you rescind it from the last vote.
Yeah, I'm resending it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes. Now we're legal. We got to find another way to fund the Christmas party.
Yeah, you kind of put the onus right back on Tim again. Yes.
I'm gonna have a cookie sale out front.
Yes, hey, one of the things I want to talk to you about, over the weekend, I went to my sister's house for a garage sale. And my sister buys a lot of new stuff, but she never uses it. And I ended up buying a lot of stuff from her. But she gave me some stuff that I'm gonna give, I will donate that for the Christmas gifts at Christmas time. I mean, beautiful stuff. My sister likes to shop, her husband's passed away, and she thinks she wants something, instead of taking it back, she might keep it and sit it on the counter. She's got all kinds of neat things. But I was gonna say that if you commissioners would go to some garage sales, you probably could find some new things also that we could use to put into the Christmas time for gifts, for, like we always have the drawing. And if you don't want to do it, if you want to give me $20, I'll do the shopping for you.
Give me anything.
I'd rather give you $20. I hate garage.
Just to give you an example, my niece or my sister bought a candle, stands this big around. She paid over, I think, almost $30 for it. She just took the lid off because she wanted the smell of it, for her house. She sold it for $2. And it's you light that, and it's gonna smell like pumpkin in your house. But I mean, these are nice gifts. She also bought another thing that has music. Bought that for $1, and I think she paid $40 for it.
Okay.
So these are really nice gifts.
I make a motion to approve the expenditures and any expenditures that would supply a good Christmas lunch.
Okay?
What did you just say?
No.
You're gonna vote what he just said?
What is intent, but.
I take it, I don't think we need a motion, so.
Okay. Do it on our.
You talked about the money for the Christmas gifts, or I mean, for the dinner. We do have, isn't there $2,500?
No, you don't anymore. I don't have anything anymore.
Where's the money? The money that was supposed to go for this was from the candy bars, all the different functions that you guys do. They do.
The candy bars.
The candy bars,
That just goes on, maybe their little buffets they put on and stuff, but not for the main meal, no.
Oh, I thought they were
No.
money.
And that used to, there again, they're getting kicked in the teeth. They used to do funds like that and then have a charity they gave it to. We can't do that anymore either.
Okay, why don't each of us pick something we can make and bring it?
I'll make something, all right. You
Okay.
want to get what I make.
I think that we can do this.
Tim and I have no one at home to make us anything, right?
You can do it. I'll come over and help you.
Oh, God. thanks.
I'm just thinking, Tom and you,
Mouth up, stuck my foot now and then
yeah, and George,
I'll have a bake.
they will cook a meal. And
Yeah.
that would go her meal. No, I think we can do it, you guys. It's
Yeah,
not
we
cost
can-
that much. We can.
Yeah.
You know what costs is the labor.
Get out of it. You wouldn't let me.
Okay, moving on. Discussion and report of finance and budget matters. That guy with not much hair, but more hair than Art.
Okay, here we go.
And Tom.
All right, you have the two reports in front of you. So you got checks that have been expended since the last meeting and then invoices. So the first report is looking at total of all the checks, which hopefully we reviewed. That total is $1,153,156.41 from the prior meeting to this meeting. And we'll need your approval. And then the invoices that are there that are based on approval tonight, we will issue payment tomorrow. That total, $1,194,463.46.
What, on the very first page of this, page 1 of 9, Shred Experts, it's 96 gallon purge. What is $75? No, I just.
Gotta keep going.
The, like that truck that comes out here and shreds. 96 gallon purge, apparently they measure the stuff in gallons then, what the. Oh,
What they do is they put it in a.
well, they put it in a big, yeah, yeah.
Fills the tote up, that's what they count as so many gallons.
Figured from the shred experts, but I was the 96 gallon purge, definitely, I was like.
That was the amount they dumped in the totes.
Liquids, purge, what the hell?
They-
get out of
They
the.
have a tote right
Maybe they
there.
measure it.
They measure it in a tote. That's what they do.
Maybe we had some drip pans around and I don't.
The only reason why I know is because I've had stuff shredded before and that's what they do.
Todd, I have a question for you. If you see something that doesn't quite look right, you just put it on here for us to find it? or do you fix it, or how do you work with that?
Everything on here is, we already went through approval process internally, so you got department managers who are approving it prior to it coming to accounts payable. Accounts payable is the last check and balance, they approve it. She approves it and it's ready for payment. So if checks have been issued already, they were going through the process, these are things that they were on our pre-approval listing that we can process payments right away. Either they're under contract or it's benefit related types of expenditures, utilities, that kind of stuff. The invoice report are invoices that have already, again, went through that approval, internal control, check and balance. And they're just, the final step is you all taking a look at them. But internally, they've already met our criteria for approval.
Okay, thank you.
You know, Tim, tell them to pay the bills. You got another report, don't you? Oh, you're all done.
We're not having the.
No more finance meeting, no, this
No
is
more
it.
finance.
This is it.
This is it.
Yeah, so you can
So,
tell,
well,
pay the bill.
we do have to pay the bills.
That's right.
That's good. Motion by Tim to pay the bills. I hear a second.
Support, pay the bills.
Motion by Tim, supported by George to pay the bills. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Is there any additional public comment?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, I'll go.
I'm all fired up. All right.
Oh, geez, don't fall.
They're too long. All right. Well, good evening, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Bonnie Gustavson. I'm a resident of New Haven Township and I am a landowner in Sumner Township. I am a board member on the Conservation District of Gratiot County and new to the Planning Committee. And I appreciate your trust placed in me to help protect our county's future. Since joining the Planning Committee, I've been reviewing the foundational documents. And I was surprised that the master plan and current ordinance are not readily available on the county website. With assistance, copies have been provided and I have begun a thorough review. One area that stands out for immediate attention is our zoning solar ordinance, which was adopted in 2018. So it's 8 years old. Many things have changed since then. Many elements across our ordinance need to be updated, but the solar regulations are particularly out of date. As a registered nurse, health and safety is one of my top priorities. Heard me speak before on that. Unfortunately, the current solar ordinance contains no meaningful provisions for ongoing maintenance, inspection, or regular reporting requirements for these solar farms. At a previous commissioner meeting, we heard concerns about the condition of the North Star solar farms. They were described as a mess. This raises serious questions. Who is monitoring these facilities? Who is inspecting them on a regular basis? Right now, it doesn't appear anybody is. We know that damaged solar panels can create real health risk. Leaching chemicals can affect soil and water, and there are documented concerns about adverse effects on human health when these systems are not properly maintained. Our rural communities and agricultural lands deserve better protection. Commissioners, you work for the public, and the public safety should be first and foremost. We cannot allow outdated ordinance to erode the safety and welfare of our residents and our rural landscape. My recommendation is clear. I tasked the Planning Committee with a full review of the 2018 solar ordinance and other regulatory related regulations. We need stronger maintenance standards, regular inspections, require reporting protocols, and clear enforcement of mechanisms to protect our residents, our water, our soil, and our agriculture heritage. I am committed to, as a member of the Planning Committee, to review research and to provide recommendations. Our county deserves modern, responsible ordinance that puts health and safety and good stewardship first. Thank you for your time and your service.
The young guy with a colorful shirt is next.
Good evening, Bob Baxter, Fulton Township Supervisor. I just want to bring to the commissioners' attention of a possible health hazard situation on the west side of Pompeii, drain 28 comes through there. And with the spring heavy rainfalls that we had, two of them, the sewer drain system in Pompeii was completely flooded. And I was over there today, it's drying out, but the drain is still full of water and it's because it's backing up at the culvert that goes under the railroad track. And I have a meeting with the drain commissioner on the 12th, I believe it is, to talk to him about it. And from what I understand, that was dredged, drain 28 was dredged a while back. And it was dug too deep on the north side of the railroad tracks. And so it can never completely drain out of there. And if you're familiar with the Pompeii sewer drain system, drain field system, any overflow will naturally go into the drain 28. It has nowhere else to go. And right now there's probably, I didn't stick my foot in there, but I'd say there's probably a good 3 foot of water backed up, probably 500 yards up that ditch. Stagnant, and it could be a health issue to the people of Pompeii. I mean, when I was a kid, we played in ditches all the time. I wouldn't want to go near that thing. So I just wanted to make the commissioners aware of the fact, and I'm going to talk to the drain commissioner about it on the 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any other public comment? Art, you didn't say nothing yet.
I'm just listening.
Okay.
You didn't have anything else better to do tonight, right, Art?
Well, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll support that.
All right.
Moved by Tim, supported by George to adjourn, 6:42.